Hello, good evening and welcome. This is Jared Walters and I'm here with Richard Oliver for the Now Debate. Unfortunately, due to a problem with my Skype, we're unable to actually be seen today, but you're going to have to listen to us instead. Hello everyone. Richard, how are you?
I'm good.
And we have been watching this very highly controversial conversation that we've had a few feedback from people within our circles. Any of you guys in the chat have watched Rose Icke 3? It'd be interesting to see what you think. Love the man or hate him, have a lot of disagreements or a lot of bad things to say about him, fine. If you have a lot of good things to say about him, cool. Richard, your thoughts, my friend?
Well, I mean, we jumped in the bit where the guy talks about love, right? So just based on the strength of that alone, right? That pretty much sums him up as not being a racist.
Yeah.
Right? He was banned for talking about the connection between 5G and the coronavirus, which he didn't actually say. He said that 5G can cause the symptoms they are saying that is caused by coronavirus. And controversially, I missed a little bit at the beginning because the live feed got cut, right? But this is the thing is, you got people saying this man is dangerous, right? In what he's saying. Now, the world as it stands, unfortunately, is a pretty dangerous place, right?
Yeah.
We can agree on that with radical religions and different things, and the way like as we talked about before on the show, the way cancer is treated and different things, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to know what he's saying, it's no good just bombarding the man with hate and saying what he's saying is false and where's the evidence. Look at the people he talks about and go do some research on them.
Yeah.
And very quickly you will find evidence that there is a lot that has gone on in our world, just in my lifetime, that has been proven to be a lie.
Yeah.
Or there's false information been put around. Right? That's not conspiracy. That's fact. I can list quite a few just off the top of my head. Right?
Yeah.
So it's fine. I'm finding it hard to not look at the world the way David Icke is looking at it. And that's what I'm finding it.
Now, I'm glad that he did, and it's a shame that it took so long to get there, right? And it's a shame he always puts that at the end, because I think what he's saying about love, right, it needs to be more at the centre, because that is, I suppose I understand why, because he's got to take people on this journey, and he's got to this is some of my thoughts, right? Because of this Facebook banning, because of the YouTube banning, and because of the media coverage, the fact it's all over the mainstream media, he's been banned off Facebook, he's been banned off YouTube, and because of people like yourself and people like myself and the 1.5 million people that have watched London Real, and the 1 million people that follow David Icke on YouTube, and the 1 million that follow on Facebook, and that's potentially about 4 million people there, right? And what I found amazing is that just in our household, right, we're all having discussions, we're having these really intelligent and really fascinating discussions, and we've just gone on sort of party chat on the Xbox with a couple of our Xbox friends, and we've just talked about it, and like we're having conversations on Facebook, and we're talking about it. And this is the point I made to a friend, a dear friend of mine who sees it a bit differently to what I do, and he's entitled to. I don't want to fall out with anyone over it, because at the end of the day, I don't think that's the point. My point is it's the fact that we should be allowed to have these conversations. We should be able to have these debates, and it's the fact that people now a lot of people now have seen David Icke that would never have seen him under any other conditions, and at least can have that opinion from having watched what the man has to say. No matter what you think about what the man has to say, whether you think he's nuts, whether you think he's dangerous, or whether you think he's a man talking completely out of love, at the end of the day, the discussion is there. So at least you have had that experience. If any of this stuff he is talking about does start to happen, the seed has been planted. The spark, like on the video I put out yesterday, the spark. We were told by the Council of 12, and I want to make this point, Rich, and I'll hand it back over to you. When I've gone through these sessions and these responses, and I've gone through it from what I've had from Spirit all my life, is what he's saying about love. And it's not a love between a man and a woman. It's not a love between... It is the love between a man and a woman. It is the love between parent and child. But it's the love beyond that. It's love as like the Force out of Star Wars. That's the closest sort of analogy I can give, is the Force out of Star Wars. Because it is, like he said, it's that love inside you that is you. It's that love that speaks to you. It says, do the right thing. Do the thing that, go to that fear. That fear is blocking you. It's stopping you. And for a person that, if you knew me 6 or 7 years ago, I was in a constant state of worry. If you knew me 2 years ago, but I was in a constant state of worry. And it's only by seeing that love in myself and asking and opening up to that love in myself and confronting the fear in myself that I have sort of started to speak my truth and put my message out there. And I don't agree with everything David says. Some of what he says I probably would oppose quite vehemently. But whereas he says about that I think is the message, because when we start asking ourselves, am I doing this out of fear or am I doing this out of love? Just asking that, like the bit at the end of the conversation when he said about for the next month, just think of yourself. And he went a bit too complicated for my liking. I would have said, Rich, I don't know what's happening, but I'm getting a lot of feedback on your end.
I don't know why.
Are you outside or something?
No. Oh,
it's a gain thing then. It's turning the gain up. It's turning the gain up on your mic.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, that's an amazing, that's an amazing story. That's an experience I want everyone to have, because of what it does for you, what it turns you into. It turns you, and I think by saying, I'm infinite consciousness, we have no concept of that. What about for the next month? Just say, I am more than what I am. I am more than what I feel I am. I am more than what things appear to be.
But what are you going to do if this lockdown continues and our freedoms get taken away? Where are you going to put that love, bud?
But that's the thing, though. But you let the love guide you. You let the love guide you. We would say, right? We would say we let spirit guide us, right? It's the same thing. But and yeah, okay, we could be told this or we could be told that. We could have armed police knocking at our door, but putting a fucking vaccine in us, right? At the end of the day, if that's the option you got left, then the only thing you can do is fight them. If that's the option, if your back's against the wall, if that's the only option you got left, but then isn't that a fear by saying, oh, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if this? We're not there yet. So I think actually focusing on that resonance of love It's like what you've said about the CE5. It's like what we've said about everything. If you keep thinking about the what if, is that going to happen? Is that going to happen? Is that going to happen? Your thoughts in your mind are constantly in the future. They're not in the now. They're not in the present now. You know, we've, in this lockdown, but put our message out there, and it's resonated with people, and it's built our channel. So in a kind of a way, it's done us a favour. Because it's allowed us to spread a message, and that message comes from love. That's why that's what keeps me driving me to make these videos. Is love. It's
as you know, I've always, but probably every now debate at the end at some point, I've said, look at it, think of love. Right, use love as your guiding force. It's the thing we do as investigators to protect our team members.
Of course we do.
Right, it's the thing we use to define us. Right, love. If you use love to define you, you'll be surprised at you can be. Right, that's fact. Right, if you live in a fear state, then you will be surprised at the person you become.
Yeah.
If you live in a love state, same goes.
Yeah.
Right? And they are polar opposites.
Yeah.
Right? Them two people that come to the end of that journey are completely different people. Right?
Right.
But why, what David Icke is saying, and this is the point, right? This is where, if you can't believe what he's saying, you can believe in the love he's saying, but you're listening to what he's saying. Yeah. Now, for me personally, right, I have looked at this coronavirus since it started, and for me, it has felt like it's been lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. Right, I have never seen any coherence out of it. Right,
me neither.
From Boris Johnson being sick to the figures, which are yearly, 650,000 people in the UK die a year. Right.
Yeah.
40,000 of them die of pneumonia. At the moment, it's 28,000 people have died of coronavirus, and we're getting close to the middle of the year. Now, the statistics for people dying of anything else, as it looks, if you statistic it, right, they've changed.
Yeah.
And the things he's talking about with Fauci and all these different people and Bill Gates, why, with no medical background, is he in charge of vaccinating people, and he's having a detrimental say on what happens to your life if you don't adhere to what he wants, is just mind-blowing. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, what he's saying, now, to me, it's still in my heart when I saw him say, there is no virus. My heart didn't want to believe that, right? My heart didn't want to believe that, because that level of manipulation is savage. But there's a part of me that's thinking, it's not adding up. If it doesn't add up, it's either they're lying, so means there genuinely could be no coronavirus and they're just using the flu season to scare the shit out of us, which is what the statistics are saying. That's what they're saying to me when I'm looking at them, when I'm researching them. That's what they're saying to me. They're saying that they're using other statistics and putting COVID-19 on it, right? That's what it's telling me. Yeah. Right, this thing where they're getting people to sign these things, do not resuscitate. What's happening in the care homes with flu, and they're not treating them. Right, they're just putting them straight in to see how bad they get. I was told by a doctor I couldn't be treated for asthma because he's been advised by the World Health Organization not to treat people with asthma. Right, that picture, but he's painting the picture I'm coming to without David Icke.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? And we can't build a world of love on violence. We cannot. But we can stand against it. Yeah. We can stand against it with our right? With opening up ourselves, being brave, right? Thinking of the people we love and what type of world we want for them, and just stepping forward, just taking them steps forward in that realm. And you don't need these things. We don't need this this control. We don't need it.
Well, he does say earlier on in the stream that there are different strains, and he does, because he talks about Italy, and he does say that what happened in Italy and he compares it with Iran, because he talks about what happened with Iran. And he said, isn't it funny that at the beginning of the year we were almost going to a war with Iran, and they have basically had some of the most savage deaths out of this virus, right? What he does say about Italy as well. He says that he believes that there is something, because he also makes the point, like we have, that he fell ill with a virus back in September. Some of the mainstream news sources are coming out now and saying that people fell ill with this virus back in September, right? And this is the thing. When you listen to the mainstream media, right? And this is the point I wanted to make with sharing this conversation, and I made a point of sharing it today, was because it gives an alternate viewpoint. If there's an alternate viewpoint, there is something to debate. There is something to show people. And I think, to me, what's the one bit that's not adding up for me is when they are controlling things, right? When they are, because there's 2 points. First of all, what he says about the economy, yes, I can kind of understand, right? But you're getting big business, but they're getting really hit by this. Look at the oil markets for a start, right? The price of oil. There's certain bits in David Icke's story that don't quite add up for me, right? Just for me personally, right? It's just, I can't speak for anyone else. I can't speak for you. I can't speak for that. I can't speak for anyone else, right? But for me, right, the oil markets, and people, there's reports now that the Rockefellers have basically pulled out of the oil markets. There wouldn't be an oil market if it weren't for the Rockefellers, but they were the ones behind the setting up of the petrodollar and all the rest of it, right? Now, until obviously you see it coming down the pipeline, until something happens. Now, it's just the other thing I don't get is when 9/11 happened, right? When 7/7 happened, when the Iraq War happened, when Syria happened, it was the same narrative wherever you looked. If you went on CNN, it was the same narrative. If you went on Fox News, if you went on Australia Sky News, it was the same narrative. If you looked at the BBC, it was hello Jonathan. If you looked at the BBC, it was the same narrative. If you looked at everywhere you looked, it was the same narrative, right? Now you're getting different narratives. You're getting different things being reported in different parts of the world. Some people are now saying it's come from this lab. Other things. So I think it's almost like a bit of a loss of control, as if like this wasn't supposed to happen now. If like this was in the pipeline, this is what these people wanted, but not yet. It's almost like something's tipped the scales. That's what I'm seeing, but because to me, there's like, even like people like I would never have thought would be questioning things, right? And that's the thing, and that's what it comes to. It doesn't matter whether you agree with Icke or not. In a sense, Icke is just providing a sounding board here. He's just being a sounding board for your own inner voice, because it's like what we got told about in the Bible. They talk about the coming of the Pentecost, right? And that comes through about the live streams, about whichever. If you give someone a piece of information, they will understand it in different ways. And that's like we've been told that through the live streams, because everyone's going to take something different from what a person is saying. They'll take what they need, and they'll focus on a bit where they'll go, it's this, so it's that, or it's this, so it's that. And it's like, it's the fact of having the conversation and just being aware of different points of view as to what is happening, I think is the most important message to take from this.
Well, no, I think you have to look at it though, to know it's a lie before you take any stance on it. And the reason being, right, if you just take, this is the thing, if you just take the death toll for pneumonia in the UK,
right,
it's quite a lot of people a day, right, and without anything else, right, without like people who can't deal with normal viruses, right, You add it up, and you add it up, and you add it up, and you add it up, right? And you look at the way our government have treated the NHS with this PPE nonsense.
Yeah.
And you look at the you look at the nurse who said we haven't infected enough people, right? These little posts on Facebook and these little things going about, and it just starts to form a picture in your mind, right? And to me, it does feel like rich people want more, right? That's how I perceive the world. I mean, it's happened.
Regardless of whether there's a virus or not, but rich people always want more.
Yeah, right. Regardless,
Yeah.
right? And it's just the way, if you look at all of it, it just isn't. And just from my point of view, it isn't adding up. And yeah, we have to. We're at that point where we have to stand for it. We have to stand against it, and we have to stand for what is right. And it's going to be, I personally believe, as I've been a paranormal investigator for many, many years, there is a negative force, an unseen force of negativity that has a hand in some of the dark stuff that man does. It's not as dark as man, because man takes it one step further. But I do believe that, right? I do believe what I said. I've been a firm, advocate of that on the channel.
Yeah.
So, and it does seem that is, at the moment, from my perspective, in the way the world is going, that it does seem to be the running force in the world.
Yeah.
So, it's an easier thing to say than do, right? And Ike's right. If you open up your heart, your perspective changes, right? And the world opens up. It does open up to you, and the world that is black and white all of a sudden becomes colour, right? And it will brighten and it will change.
It is literally like Dorothy with the Wizard of Oz.
It is a whirlwind as well. It does spin you round, and you will at moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you will at moments think, "Oh my God, why did I go down this rabbit hole?"
And you will lose your brain. Sometimes you'll lose your heart, and sometimes you'll lose your courage. And then you'll pull back the curtain, and you realise that that all-powerful force that has been controlling the world is just a bloke.
Yeah, it's just an odd.
The Wizard of Oz is actually beautiful.
Yeah, but it is just an ordinary guy.
Yeah.
That just wants too much, and they want control. I mean, just on our level, right? If I just talk about this, I don't care if it gets me in trouble, but I'm going to talk about it. Just one step above us, which is our local council, right? I work for the local council, and from my perspective, I was treated quite poorly, right? And I was in a system that I thought was doing the right thing. I'm protecting the environment. And it turns out that the company they were in cahoots with was sending their waste to Malaysia, and they were putting it in landfill, and it was recycling. That's just one step up, right? That's just sort of the level of one step above you, right? That's your manager level, right? On the plane you exist now, which was mine. I was just a lowly old, went from bin man to street key enforcement officer. And if you move them steps up, like he says, the pyramid, then that mindset, that turn a blind eye, that level of what you will accept to keep yourself at a certain plane of existence is there. It's right in front of your eyes. I met, the listeners who have worked for that type of mind. They have worked under there, and they might be lucky, and they work for a brilliant person who dedicates their life to love. You might be lucky. If you're lucky, I'm all for you. But I haven't been that lucky. I have never, ever in my entire working career been that lucky. I have always worked where somebody above me will just give zero shits for you. And now I've always looked at that going up, right? I have perceived that from my point of perspective, moving up to a pyramid. And it's always, it's there, right? If it's at my level, it's at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we've seen it. We've seen the lies.
Yeah.
The state. Theresa May, our own Prime Minister, was the head of the paedophile investigation division and not one person was ever brought to justice, right? You got Epstein, right? You got Prince Andrew's involvement in that, right? You got all the celebrities with their involvement in that, right? Just the paedophile scandal. You got
Well, not all the
Pizzagate.
celebrities, but that you
All the
can't.
celebrities, no, not all the celebrities involved in going to that
Right,
island.
I
I'm
see. I
sorry,
see.
if you were seen on that island, you knew what was going on that island. If you didn't, then personally, you're lucky, and you've got the best blinkers on I've ever seen in history. Right? Anybody involved in that knew what was going on that island. I'm sorry, it's like the Jimmy Savile thing with the BBC. They knew what that man was up to. He had people. He had an entourage. Right? That
Absolutely.
happened.
Yeah. And I think we've just lost Richard. We've completely lost him. Hang on.
Am I
Richard?
back?
Yeah, are you back? What happened to you there, my friend?
I don't know. We got cut off. I think, but it might be an helicopter.
Yeah,
On again.
we are we are experiencing. Well, quite interested, given what you were talking about, how much we seem to be getting cut off here.
Are we back, Jazz?
Yeah, we're back now, mate.
Well, if you, I've looked at this for years and I've never drawn a different conclusion, right? And I don't want my kids to grow up in that world. I don't want anybody I love to grow up in that world. I don't want the people listening to grow up in that world.
I don't want my worst enemy to grow up in that world.
No,
Or
and
to
that's
live in
the
that
world. That's the world they're pushing to. If they push this vaccine, if they push these rules, if they bring down the military might on people, right, for not adhering to what they want, right, we are free. We're supposed to be free beings. Being born we are all born in a world of slavery, and that I've never understood since I was very little, how somebody has control over the little things in my not the laws, right? We're not about the Bible laws or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
They stand for what they stand for. I'm on about the laws that seem to inhibit me and aid them.
Yeah.
Right? That somebody, for whatever reason, has the right to say what is right for me, but that's different for them.
Yeah.
And it can be done. I think I've seen a global awakening since I was a kid. I've seen it, right? But I've also seen some nasty shit that we got to go through before it.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, it's taken something like this for people to go, all right, I can't. This is just enough's enough. Enough is enough, like.
Yeah.
This is having, what this lockdown, I personally, if you look at the people who are dying in their homes and the people who's not getting the right medical treatment and the NHS staff who are having to work under these conditions, right, with this knowledge in their head and seeing these,
well,
these
sooner
people,
or later the fear is going to lift. It's either going to lift because it gets pushed too far and you can only fight for so long and you literally grow. You can only be backed into a corner for so long, and you either basically get pummeled to death, and therefore you basically die, or you come out fighting. And I don't mean violence now, but I mean you take a stand. You stand up and you say, as you say, but enough is enough, and that's the thing. And you just. And just by that side of it, and it's like, even now, it's like when this lockdown is lifted and the amount of people, that, like, when the quote I used from Brian Rose on the last video where we put out, right, but where he says about a woman cowering, like he only ran past her in the street and she was cowering away from him, and it's just to see that changed his world. You could tell in what he was saying, it changed his world. And that's what I'm worried about. And that's the scary thing. I'm not scared about this virus. I'm not scared about getting any bloody virus, to be honest with you. But because at the end of the day, if I die, I die. Right? I see my brother again. Right?
It is. The thing is, this is the thing, right?
Sorry, can I finish what I was just about to say? Sorry.
Go on.
What scares me more about is the fact it's the damage this is doing to people. The damage this potentially is going to do to people, but that's it doesn't scare me. It's it concerns me. It's something that I feel, can that be sustained? And I don't think it can. I don't think you can go against that natural human force to embrace another human. Like, I just think that force is too powerful. But I don't know. What was you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, sorry, but no, I was going to say about the virus, right? No, this is what they've said about it, right? It doesn't really affect children. That's what they said. That's what they've stated. It only affects old people or people with underlying illnesses, which is any virus.
Yeah.
It acts the same as any virus you have ever caught or will ever catch.
Yeah.
It's acting exactly the same, right? It affects those who are vulnerable, and those who are not get the sniffles, right? Those who are fit and healthy, like young children who are in that world of germs, because they live in that world of germs, they're just going to get maybe a mild sore throat. But we're perpetuating this virus into this killer, unseen entity, right? But the facts are saying it is just a virus.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not saying, it's not, it's not every second person that you live next to is dying.
Yeah.
Right? It's one or two that might live in the same town as you.
And this is what he was saying in that bit that you missed, is that what you do is you shield the people who are vulnerable and let everyone else get on with their lives.
But then you've got experts like Dr. Shiva and the other gentleman who's come out about it.
Dr.
Who was saying, just like any virus,
Andrew
if you take vitamin C, if you take vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A, you have sunlight, it's just going to be like any cold. So the fact that we are in self-isolation for what we are being told is a cold, but it has an effect on certain people. Do you see how the mentality of it is? Because that's what they're saying. They're not saying it's sweeping the country and it's just wiping out millions of people, which a real deadly virus would do. They're saying some people are having just a sore throat. Tom Hanks just had a sore throat. Tom Hanks is how old?
Oh, he's cracking on a bit. He's probably in his 50s or 60s.
Yeah, you've got all these people, and with the test, David Icke is saying the doctor that created the test was on London Real. Yeah, right. I haven't got to watch that yet. I don't know what he said on his own test. I am going to, when I get a chance and get round to it, I am going to watch it. But I'm doing something else at the moment. But it's if you really, really look at it, this picture will form. And this is why, for me, it's not adding up. It's just bullshit. It's just all of it. What the media are pumping out, what our own government is pumping out, and I will never, even, as much as I want Jeremy Corbyn to be someone I could look up to, I'm even changing my view on him now.
Yep.
Because he's become the politician.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all the rights he's fought for, all the things that man has done, and now I'm feeling like he's in that same category. He's in that same boat with these people. Like, he's in that league because he's he's pushing an ideology and this vaccine and everything else without showing the facts. And the facts are saying that it's just a cold. It is. That's what we are being told. It doesn't affect that person, it affects that person. It doesn't affect that person, it affects that person. It's when you really sit back, if you can sit back and look at it all and check out the people that David is talking about, if you look at the things they have done,
it's like
just
Dr.
through
Qatar.
history.
He's not a YouTuber or anything. He runs a hospital.
Yeah. And what has he said about it? Why,
he says it is basically very similar to what you are. That there is a virus, but it's been blown massively out of proportion.
It's just it's a strain of COVID that's been around for a very long time. it's going to affect some people a certain way, like any virus does.
Well, no,
It
he
isn't.
believes it came from the lab, and I
Yeah,
believe it came from the lab as well. To be
I
honest
believe it
with you.
came from a lab. If it's out there, if it
Yeah,
really is, if it does exist, I've said this in the first video when I was ill, and I thought my number was up, right? Because I bought into it, and I thought my number was up, and I thought this is the last video I'm ever going to say, and I tried to rally the Welsh. Do
you
you know what
did.
I mean? I did because I was like, I know, and I said I know that they make these things. They make these all of them, these biological weapons. All the countries do it. All the countries create. But if we knew nothing else, right, without the coronavirus being involved, just knowing that the people who we set to run the things that we are too busy to, because we all have individual jobs, are creating deadly pathogens and viruses, right, for whatever mental reason they have, then that's what we have to stop. There's one thing there. We have to say, whoa, 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 just right, burn all this and stop it. Right? If none of you got it, none of you can use it. Right? It's like anything. Just we'll put it because it's like nuclear power, right? They're checking up these power plants like daisies, and look what happened in Chernobyl,
Yeah.
right? With
Is
just
that
this,
still on fire, by the way?
No, I think they put as it just died down, didn't it? I just don't think it was as I think people were like, just oh my god, here we go, another thing, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they managed to put it out, but you got Fukushima, right? You got the power station with the tsunami,
Yeah.
right? They categorically lied about how much radiation that checked out. They covered that up to the best of their ability, right? Only like we're talking maybe in about 100 years, people will actually get to know the truth about the consequences of that power station going the way it did. And it's it's not this. We, you can look at it and you can look at all that David Icke said. We've got to stand for it. You've got to get out there and say, I'm not having it. And listen, if enough of us come together, I'm there. I'm standing next to you. You've got a person here, right? So I don't know about you, Jazz, but I'm going to stand up to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? I am going to stand up for it, and I'll create groups to stand up to it. I'll go to my local MP with it. I'll go to my council because I don't want 5G in my area, and I'm going to go around and knock houses and tell people that I don't want it in my area, but until they test it thoroughly for a couple of years. Right? And I definitely don't want a vaccine that they've just pulled like a magical rabbit out of a hat, injected into my body for something that I was supposedly had 3 times, and I am still here for. Right? It's not happening.
No.
And it's not. I'm gonna be screaming and pissing and moaning at anybody I love who is going to have it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel, right? And maybe that's wrong, and the world can say, well, you're wrong, but that's how I feel about it. Because it has genuinely just been pulled out, like I said. And I'd rather take my chances with nature than anything man has made.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, I think we'll round that off to for a show. I think for today. Is there anything further you want to add, my friend?
No, just think about just try and live your life for 1 week, right? And I don't want you to be a yes person, right? Because it doesn't, it's very difficult to do. But just try and live your life just for 1 week, right? And I want you to think about all the influences from the outside world that cause you negativity, right? Whether that's like addiction, right, which cause you actual negativity, right? That could be what you're hearing about, right? Your life, anything that's causing you these feelings, right? And just try and love through them. Just try and hold positivity and show love at these things.
Yeah.
Right? Just for a week. I just wanted to do it for a week. If anybody's listening, just see how hard it is. Right? You will. I promise you. I'm gonna tell you now. You're gonna find it hard. And then when you do, you'll start to see the truth of the world around you. The truth will open up like a flower, and you will see it for what it is.
What for me, this time has made me grateful. It's made me grateful for all the different people I have in my life, for all the different opinions that I have in my life. That the fact that like I am privileged to be able to have conversations with people from different walks of life that have different opinions, different viewpoints to myself, and have those conversations, and that enriches me as a person, right? And I believe that, irregardless of what anyone believes in what David Icke has to say, like it's not up to me to tell anyone what to believe, right? And the fact of the matter is, they, you know, as I said before, good friends of mine have different opinions.
Yeah.
That, you know, that are dear to me. Do you know what I mean? And that's a good thing, man. That's only a good thing, because that's how you learn, that's how you grow, and that's how you become something better than what you are. That's what makes you something bigger and better than what you are. And I just like, what I would say is, in order for us to get whatever is happening in the world right now, and I think that whichever way you look at this, you can say that the world is going through a transformation of sorts, whether it's going to a darker place or a lighter place. I personally believe it's kind of on a knife edge at the moment, and I'm kind of gonna marry up a little bit with like Steve Huff with this and say we are being given a chance to pause and reflect, and to really sort of start to ask questions about ourselves, our life, and what is near and dear to us, right? And what you'll find is there's different bits that will resonate with different people, and those people, like, not everyone can take on every side of this, because not everyone's going to see it in that way. And this is the problem that and I've highlighted this before. I have there's a lot of things that what David Icke has to say, or the way he sees things, I would probably disagree with. Okay, but but there's a lot of things I agree with. But my point I'm trying to make is, I feel it comes down to me. It comes down to the way I feel about myself and my own life, and how I interact with the world, what I offer the world by being my true self. If I can overcome the fear within me, then I will naturally be drawn to whatever it is I can contribute and give to the world. Do you know what I mean? And that, I feel, is to me, that's the message I've been given throughout this entire thing. Is the fact that, like, it doesn't have to be, and when I see different people who follow the likes of David Icke, Alex Jones, or all these alternative thinkers, a lot of them do what they do, what the people who follow the mainstream media do. They just take everything these people say as gospel, and that's kind of not the point. The point is to look at their views and look at what they're saying, and say, does this make sense to me? If it does, it does. If the piece doesn't fit for you, find the piece that does, and find the piece that resonates where we can have common ground. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that, to me, is where the message lies. Because otherwise, because we're all going to see the truth of it in different ways that's relevant to us, Matt.
Well, you should be. This is the thing. We should be able to live in a world, right, where what we do as individuals, if consensual, with another party, is your business. If it's consensual.
Yeah.
And if you have a view of the universe, the world, whatever, right, that's your view. Imposing that view on another human being and saying if they don't adhere to that view, then they will somehow be punished, to me is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? We know what is right and what is wrong. We know what is good and what is evil. Right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Opposing a set of views on a people, right? Opposing them and pushing them and making them an agenda, to me, is evil.
Yeah.
And we should have the right, as free people, to discuss whatever we want. If you want to believe that you descended from cats from frigging Jupiter, right?
If you want
That's
to believe
your
the Earth
belief.
is flat, like,
If you want to believe the Earth,
yeah.
If you want to believe the Earth is flat, believe it,
Yeah.
right? If whatever you want to believe, but that doesn't give anyone the right to make me believe it. I believe in what I believe. You believe in what you believe, and that's fair. That's a fair world.
Yeah.
To have that right, you can have that discussion. You can have that discussion without causing angst and without arguing and without getting angry and hurting someone. That's just the world we want, and that's not the world we live in.
Yeah.
That's them rights are being taken away.
Exactly, and that is what this comes down to, and that's the core of what this is. The core is, at the end of the day, just for Eamon Holmes, right? Let's just take this back to Good Morning Britain and Eamon Holmes. Just by saying that mainstream media shouldn't question government lines, he was forced to apologise.
Yeah,
that's not fair. That's not fair.
No, he was forced to apologise.
That's absolutely, and that's wrong. That's the fact that, like, okay, fair enough, right? If you don't want David Icke, like, these platforms are providing a digital utility. You can argue, yes, they're private companies, but okay, if they're private companies, they shouldn't be able to influence elections. They shouldn't be able to give information that's from an official source. They should just literally stand on the fence and not go and be completely separate from it, which they're not. The Cambridge Analytica scandal showed that, and anyone wants to see that film, I think it's called the Great Hack or something like that. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, the Greatest Hack.
The Greatest Hack. Yeah.
Yep.
This is the thing, right? The fact that the man, so if you demonetize the man, right? Fair enough, right? If at the end of the day, if he has the right, they have the right to tell him, right, okay, we don't agree with what you believe, so you're not making money out of it through us, right? I believe they should have the right to do that, right? That's their right, because at the end of the day, or they should at least give the advertisers the option, right? Because that's a business decision to a point, right? I can understand that argument to a point. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it to a point, right? But taking away his ability to have his say completely and utterly, I think is fundamentally wrong. And also, it's quite detrimental, because now a lot of people have watched the man have his say who probably wouldn't have watched the man have his say 2 days ago. Do you see what I mean? And that's the point. The point of this is the fact of being allowed to have a conversation. It's the point of this interview, I think, and if you take anything away from it, anything at all, whether you agree with it, whether you oppose it, whether you think the man's bonkers, whether you think the man's the second coming of Christ, right, is the fact that it's given us the opportunity to have this conversation, and by having that conversation, it can create something in each of us, because in each person we have that conversation with, we each have the opportunity to learn and grow and have something new, and that is to me, that's a spark that can light a fire. And that it does. Then all this can become almost an irrelevance in a sense. I don't know. I'm trying to articulate something here in a sense, but that I'm feeling, and maybe don't quite have the words for. But I'm just sensing it, because I'm seeing people on my Facebook, I'm seeing people in my household, I'm seeing people on YouTube, I'm seeing all these conversations happening, and I think it's brilliant. I just think it's brilliant, and maybe that's just me.
I just hope, I think it's brilliant, but I just hope people, if they know, the more of us there are, the better chance we got of standing against it. power comes in numbers.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do it with violence. We just say no. That's all you just say. It's nothing more than that. You just say no, it's not happening. And we all say, if we collectively say no, it's not happening, it can't happen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it's not right. This just not right. There's something not right about it. And if we do like this, if you, this is, I've said this since the beginning. I think this is an opportunity for reflection.
Yeah.
And we will come out of this. If some people unfortunately are struggling with this lockdown.
Yeah.
Are struggling with the isolation, and you look at Heath Ledger, right, for an example, right, when he did The Dark Knight, he isolated himself, and people said he wasn't the same when he came out of it. He'll never know the thing he did that changed the way people looked at that character. You know what I mean? What he put into it.
Yeah. Because
of isolation. He put himself in that place to see what it was like, and it didn't fare well, right? So unfortunately, but we can, and we will come out of this stronger, and we will, and I think we can triumph. So there.
Thank you very much, guys, for listening. I love you very much.
Thank you, guys.
You take care of yourselves. I've been Jared Walters.
I've been Richard Oliver.
And thank you for watching the Now Debate. Take care.
Love and light, people.
We'll see you Wednesday. Well, if there's not a video before, but we will definitely see you live Wednesday for Jesse and Little's George, which is going to be another incredible night. Take care, guys.
Ta-da.